So let's get this show on the road. I'd like to call the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Citizen Advisory Committee meeting for November 12th, 2025 to order. Madam Clerk, could we take roll, please?
Yes, Chair Sue Lester,
Here.
Vice Chair Michael Toe,
Here.
Jeff Arbor, Cindy Brenneman,
Here.
Xerxes Kalilong, Rosemary Chora,
Here.
Craig Holmes, Vicky Fernandez, Paul Lancaster, and Brooke Natsky. Thank you.
I would like to also note for the record, I know that Nolani has it, but just so everybody in the room knows, Xerxes and Dickie both told us in advance that they were not going to be able to make it. And I'm hoping that maybe some of the other people will straggle in a little bit later. Maybe they got caught up for traffic or something. Opening items. Do we have any public people in space that want to talk? Open public comment? Nobody online? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Move to item number 1, which is approve the joint board of directors and citizen advisory committee minutes of September 9th, 2025. But before we do that, I have a question and it's about the minutes. So I don't know if that should come in comments later. It's not in terms of whether they're factual or not, but in the minutes and at the last meeting, Director Uten had some questions about different verbiage that was used in reference to the work plan, the 2025-2026 work plan versus our verbiage on our CAC agenda versus what the board of directors has on theirs. And it says in the minutes that we were supposed to, and I don't know if it was you were going to figure it out or we were going to figure it out or somebody was going to figure out to make both of them have the same verbiage relating to the same items. So there was consistency and it was supposed to be brought back to the November meeting. And it says that in the minutes. And had I noticed it sooner, I would have obviously brought it up. So you could have added it to the agenda. But by the time I noticed, it was after you guys put the agenda out and it wouldn't have been enough time to add it anyway. So I just want to bring that up. Because we're going to have to do something with that before we move forward. So is it the right place for that or would it be comments later?
All of the minutes again, and if there's something new, we have to rework this is about to approve the work plan, so we don't need to bring that back to the CC approve. So I'll just take a look at the minutes. I'll review the video and what Mike mentioned and I can either bring that back to the January meeting or I just do an internal change and let everyone know here's the action we took to correct.
Okay, because yeah, we voted to approve our work plan the way it was, and then you guys would fix it so that it all made sense, and then we would see it again so we knew what the changes were made. That's it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so backing up to approve the minutes. The joint board of director minutes and the citizen advisory committee minutes of September 9th, 2025. So motion to approve, comment.
So move. To approve.
Move. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Welcome, Jeff. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Rosemary. Okay. Moving on. We are flipping the rotation for number 2 and number 3. So we're going to go ahead and jump to receive Orange County Waste and Recycling Waste Disposal Agreement Negotiations Update. Mr. Carroll?
Yes, thank you. Mr. President. Yes.
Chair and committee members. So this evening, we're going to provide an update on the waste disposal agreement negotiations with Orange County Waste and Recycling. So just to give a little history, since 2009, solid waste disposal in Orange County, at Orange County landfills has been governed by the Waste Disposal Agreement, or WDA. Under this agreement, cities and sanitary districts agree to deposit certain types of waste exclusively at OC landfills in exchange for a low and stable disposal rate. In November of 2024, OC Waste and Recycling introduced the proposed successor agreement to the WPA, titled the Waste Infrastructure System Enhancement Agreement, or WISE agreement for short. Under this proposal, the disposal fee would increase significantly from $42.65 per ton to $82 per ton. In response, the Orange County City Managers Association, also called OCCMA, formed an ad hoc committee to negotiate with OC Waste and Recycling. They proposed extending the WPA to provide additional time to negotiate a new agreement, which OC Waste and Recycling did agree to, and the WPA was extended through June 30th of 2026. Negotiations with OC Waste and Recycling have continued throughout 2025. And on October 13th, OC Waste and Recycling presented their final best offer for the rates. There were 2 rate structure options proposed. They're outlined in the staff report, but I'll summarize both of them. So option 1 proposes an immediate increase to $73 per ton beginning in fiscal year 26-27. With future adjustments tied to the waste disposal index, with the rate in fiscal year 28-29 reaching $79.31. Option 2, which is recommended by the OCCMA Technical Advisory Subcommittee, offers a phased approach. So in year 1, you're looking at $67 per ton, and then it will gradually increase to $81 per ton in fiscal year 28-29. Discussions with OC Waste and Recycling are ongoing, and a final agreement is expected in early 2026. So looking at these 2 options, what it means for the district's landfill costs, they are projected to exceed budget estimates by between approximately $464,000 and $596,000 in fiscal year 26-27. To prepare for those changes, the current budget, the fiscal year 25-26 budget already includes $60,000 to conduct a solid waste rate study. So that will help us determine the necessary adjustment to the district's rates according to the increased landfill costs. The RFP for that study went out on Monday, so we should have proposals in about a month. This concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the community has.
That's ugly. Like, that's terrible. I know that there's proposed increases already for the sanitary district, and it built in a certain percentage over a certain number of years. And that doesn't include
That, no,
Good.
that's going to basically be superseded by what we're looking at. So that rate study essentially is not sufficient to cover the landfill tipping costs. So the new study will look at what these new fees are going to be, and then we'll evaluate what the new rate will need to be for a 5-year term based on this projected.
Did I mean, I imagine a lot of this is because the rate that landfills are filling up. I'd imagine that probably
I think
plays a part,
kind of
maybe?
I'm not,
Do we know why?
yeah, there's a lot of things, again, I'm not like, specifically familiar with everything, but it was looking at infrastructure improvements, so like they were proposing to do some organics, infrastructure improvements, I think staffing costs, just kind of a whole plethora of items, and that's what the OCCMA committee was kind of did a deep dive into the financials, and that was part of the discussion and negotiation process with them.
Because I mean, I know at some point our local landfills are gonna get full. I think they projected like 2030 for Brea and 20 Brea.
Other landfills have maybe 60 to 70 years still of life, so there is one that will be closed.
And then the option is really them or throwing it on a train and sending it somewhere, which would probably be way more expensive than this. But that's a lot of money in addition to all of the other increases. I find that to be extremely disturbing. Does anybody have any other questions or comments?
The percentages are staggering. what will be done to prevent this type of increase in the future? Honestly, I find that to be unacceptable.
Rollover because the rate is set by the county.
Of course.
So I don't know that there's a way for us to minimize this type of a cost because it's coming from the county that isn't being, regulated or informed by our activities.
I guess what I'm saying is that when it comes to government, I think there is a responsibility to, everything goes up. Inflation is a real thing. So the cost of gas or the cost of milk, things are going up. But it really causes a big whiplash for the public to have something increase 85%. So usually we're looking at smaller increases. I mean, when the district has a rate increase, I don't expect it to be 85%. So my comment is that feedback really needs to be impressed upon the county. That's not acceptable. It's not, and I know it's not in your control. It's, the word that comes to mind is outrageous.
The initial proposal was somewhere around 90%, the initial increase in proposed, and so, by doing that, the financial financial.
And my other question is really, because I'm not as familiar with how it works in Orange County. So the tonnage, the disposal tonnage at the landfill is being paid for by the district. It's not part of the contract with the hauler.
Yes, so it's rate that the R&R is paying enough in the contract that if the county adjusts those rates, then we come back and negotiate with.
Immediately, it's not like a delay, like we're gonna do, because I've seen other contracts where they'll only allow increases of up to 5% for 5 years, and then on that 5th year, there's okay. So your contract allows for, if there's an 85% increase, that you're just gonna also kind of whiplash it and put that on the ratepayer as soon as possible.
The percentage increase.
Okay.
It just says back and negotiate if they-
Well, and I would assume that's what CR and R is gonna want, right? Okay, thank you.
Do we know, I mean, dollar wise, what that translates in increase per ratepayer roughly? If let's say it's, okay, let's just say it's $600,000. How, like, I don't know how many ratepayers we have, like, do you have a ballpark on what that?
Reasons why they increased those solos is one, yes, Orange County has 3 landfills in Orange County. One of them's protected, closed. Grail and this in the next 5 years. So these are 2 landfills, one in Irvine and one in Santa Capistrano. Both got rejected in the last 75 years. So
Okay.
they'll drop the wall. But capacity nomination for those two landfills. Importation of trash has gone down significantly. So that was, if you old enough to remember, when the county filed bankruptcy, one of the reasons why they got out of bankruptcy is the imported trash outside. So trash from Los Angeles, San Diego, other counties coming into Orange County at a higher rate, and so that was a huge revenue generator for really, like, that is significantly decreasing as well. They also have staffing costs going up. They also said that consulting costs are going up. We don't know why consulting costs are going up. And also, it's been in the news that the county is experiencing significant lawsuits. I think in the Voice OC, they paid about $250 million in lawsuits. Majority of that's due to the airport fire. And the county will borrow money from the enterprise fund. They have to pay it back, but they borrow money from the enterprise fund to pay for some of those expenses. So all of this is just up, all of it is happening at one time. And what can we do in the future? Unfortunately, there's not much we can do other than get political. So we can have our board of directors go to supervisor fully and just scream as loud as we can. But in the end, they have leverage. It's up to them. They basically said, look, here's your 2 options. If you don't accept it, we're just gonna set the rate for you. right? And so we still have leverage.
Of course.
It is what it is, right? And so, yeah, it's unfortunate. We were all shocked at that high increase, but it's one of those sandwiches that we all take right of.
It's like the insurance companies charging every single person that's insured for the fires and everything else. It's like, if every single company is going after every single person, there's nothing you can do.
Well,
You're
it's-
just kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's like, like the recent fires that was caught by PG&E, right? Well, yes, they got $5 million, but what did they do? Passed on ratepayers, right? And so are they really, paying a price for the mistakes they made? Some say no, they just passed on to us. So, yeah, it's it's still not a done deal. We're supposed to hopefully make a decision by December, or which option we prefer. And proceed with getting the green sign. And then it's for 3 years, and after 3 years, we come back and look at it again and see what kind of increases, if any, will increase after 3 years. I don't foresee another, at year 4, another 50-60% increase. I don't foresee that happening. Hopefully it'll be moderate increases, things like a CPI increase was been in the past 3-4%, which is agreeable.
So what are the terms of that contract? Is it a 4-year contract? Is it a 5-year contract? Is it?
Probably, I probably like a 10-year contract, and then an interconference that every 3 years with a reevaluate the.
In those negotiations you just hinted at, the future increases, they're making up the difference as quickly as possible in the front years. So in the latter years, is there negotiations with OCCMA to really say, okay, fine. We understand that, even though maybe there's some auditing required to understand where the true costs are, because they do need to generate revenue to cover those costs, but are they truly doing that or not?
And that's,
But is there a really strong push to have that requirement that it be tied to CPI, so we don't find ourselves in this double-digit increase the last 3 years, the last 5 years?
yes, and I think that's what the city manager goal is, and year 4, we want to see their expenses again. We can show us your books, where the expenses are coming from. We want to make sure we don't have another 50-60% increase. And if you're gonna justify a 3 or 4% CPI, we can agree to that. But yes, that's the intent, is to hopefully we're gonna be open and transparent, and we should make sure that the information we can all agree on, typically that's fair, and that will fair with them.
Yeah, and I would even consider or be more favorable to multiple indices, not necessarily just CPI. There are other like fuel and labor indices that you can, to be fair, we're not saying that prices aren't going up and that they don't need to recover their costs. But I mean, local government has to really forecast accurately. We have to look at the impacts to customers. And I mean, in the 80%, honestly, I just feel like maybe somebody wasn't, watching the numbers close enough. And that's, I see that they may need these resources to continue on, but they really need to be focused on this more carefully so that we're not in this situation again.
San Diego, they're also. So Orange County's been low, very low, probably too low. But you're right, it should have rapidly increased from 20% per year, instead of 67%. And other counties are watching Orange County. They're watching how they proceed on this issue. So again, our options are extremely limited.
No.
Brooke had a question. I just wanted
Oh,
to.
go ahead, Brooke.
I'll just jump in. But you kind of touched on it, and what you just said is that Orange County has been below something comparable for quite a long time. So it is a little concerning that to jump 80% when we really have been lower. And then I don't know how that impacts messaging going forward. Yeah.
For the record, I want to say this, I don't care really. While I understand the need to increase the fees, if we get to the point where that has to be communicated to the ratepayers, I want to make it clear who is doing it, who approved it. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Cause it'll look like you guys are jacking the rates. Now, do they have any, does OC Waste have any restrictions? Like, I know the, CMSD has restrictions as it relates to like planning. You can't make money off of that. You can only charge, like, you have set amounts that you can charge. You can't turn it into a profit center. Do they have any restrictions like that as well? Oh, okay, so they're recovering their costs, they can't, okay. Okay, and then any idea like how that would translate per ratepayer? I honestly don't know how many ratepayers we have.
Right now, we're listening to what I'm hearing, it could be anywhere from $3 to $5 per month.
Okay, so $5, that's $60 a year per person, which.
In addition to whatever
It
the
is,
proposed increase.
all the other.
Yep.
The other increase. So on offer 2, where they give you pay higher or you pay lower upfront, and then they stick you a little bit more at the end. Is the proposed rate for say 2027, 2028, like, are those their hard numbers? Or is there a way to kind of make those a little less ugly before we get there?
There's not much time to renegotiate. Well, how about we go instead of 8% or 7%? How about we go 10? And I don't think that they have the patience for the time to do that. This is going on.
They just don't.
Here
yeah.
now, and it's time it comes to an end. It's a fight and make a decision.
Staff is recommending option 2. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
what the Orange County Ski National Association is, so I don't know if it's been made to a decision yet, but that's the committee was recommending to the association.
And does this apply only to landfill or also recycling and the organics card? Okay, so an additional way to message this to the ratepayers is, hey, the more you source separate and get all your food out, you're saving us money.
No, I don't know. For what it's worth, I mean, you always hate to have people pay a higher percentage at the end, but it's significantly lower if you go with option 2 upfront just with the way inflation is now. I don't know what it's gonna be like in 2 years. I don't know if it's gonna be better.
Is that first year, yes, it's still a big jump.
It's just not as painful.
7%, right? I think that's the way.
Yeah, for me personally, it would be a easier pill to swallow, looking at this, looking at the bill over a period of years, and then, that you are essentially paying 4% more, but it's spread out a little bit better. I mean, it sucks either way. Yeah, I think that's terrible. So, are we supposed to just commiserate and
Yeah, this is
move on? How are we doing here?
bad news. It's pipeline, so I'm just wondering, give me a heads up that when you see your trash rates, you don't know why.
I just want to say, I don't take it as such bad news when you've had 15 years of below rates and as a result, I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened the way that it happened, but eventually somebody has to, people have to pay for things.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The part that I'm concerned about is everything right now is so ridiculously expensive. And we're cutting things for people, things are being cut for people that have never been cut before. And we have a large demographic across our country that is majorly screwed right now. And so that's what's concerning to me. I totally agree with you. You pay for a service, you have to pay for the service or the service goes away. I get it. But that's why I would hope they would lean to a little less now as opposed to later, and hopefully things get better. For the senior demographic and for low income families, that's a lot of money.
Well, and also I think in everything, in my perspective, when it comes to government, it's easy to kick the can down the road and not raise rates. And that can be done because of political reasons or just lack of oversight. But really, if the cost of gas is going up incrementally and the
It's more manageable.
milk is
Yeah,
going up,
it's more manageable.
it's easier on the customer to do it incrementally, a little bit at a time. Every couple of years, the rate should go up. And keeping something artificially low for 15 years does no good, no benefit. It doesn't really help us when we start getting smacked with these.
No, it's horrible government and it sucks
To
because
your
it's,
Earlier point about projecting, being able to project
I
better.
also think it takes leadership to say we need to increase the rates. Like, that's what I expect you to do, Scott. Like, when you see costs rising, you have to respond to ensure that the district has enough resources to do the job that it's charged with. And I guess I sort of expect the same from the county. And this tells me that that's not quite what's happened when it comes to landfill services.
anybody else, questions, comments? All right, thank you. All right, moving right along.
Next item, is hopefully, as we know, everyone is gonna be shocked or surprised when we, hear about their trash rates going up significantly, 60%. We're proposing a new program that still has to be approved by the board, but maybe if we go down this road, it can lessen the impact a little bit. By giving back to the residents, control, their cost on the solid waste, while at the same time, controlling how disposal of the waste. And it's a program called, pay as you throw, or tiered rates. And we'd be the first in Orange County to do this, the one in Orange County doing it, but it is very common practice in California. I listen to that where several cities do, tiered rates like Santa Monica, Pasadena, Claremont, Oceanside, some stuff the districts do as well. They're all Northern California, but there were 3 special districts, and there were 4 Loma Sanitary District, West Bay Sanitary District, Castro Valley Sanitary District. They all have tiered rates system. And the way the system would work, it's really like true utility, like your utility with your water and your gas, your electricity, the more you use. Hey, same philosophy with trash. If you have a 90-gallon cart, you're gonna pay more than somebody has a 35-gallon cart, right? And so when they see this, so that 90-gallon cart price is gonna go significantly higher with the fee. This one wants to reduce their costs, they can go to a 35-gallon cart. But that means they have to change their behavior on how they throw away their trash, right? So it only impacts the trash cart, the black lid cart. The green, the blue lid carts, they stay the same. They can go any size you want. For a large size, fine. But this is just on the black lid cart, that if you want to lower your cost, then you can go to a 35-gallon cart. Now, to let you know, price, well, how many carts we have out there in the community? I did a quick tally. We have, there's almost, there's 65,600 carts out there. And of those, let's say 66,000 carts, 78% of them are the 65 gallons. So basically 78%, the majority of carts are 65 gallons. So over 51,000 carts are 65 gallons. 20% are 95 gallons, so only 13,000 carts are 90 gallons, and only 2% are 35 gallons. So the idea is to get more of those people to go from the 65, 95 gallons to 35 gallons to lower their costs and also increase our diversion, right? Increase our diversion away from the landfills. That's in theory how it should work. The challenge that we face here at the district versus in other organizations that have tier rates is that, as you know, we generate our revenue through assessment on property tax, where everyone else, they direct bill, whether it's from the city, through their own billing department, or the hall, direct bill to the customer for their services. It's still an enterprise fund, but the customer will pay directly to the city, or they pay directly to the hauler. We do our assessments, and that what makes it challenging, and I identified, I had a meeting with my staff a couple weeks ago, and I said, well, let's list all the issues, the problems that we could face going to a tier rate system. And we list the top 5 in your staff reports. One of them is cart exchange frequency, right? So the concern is when someone has a 95-gallon car and they call us up and say, well, I want to go to 65-gallon car. Okay, great. So now we've got to change, make sure that accurate data. And then maybe 3 months later, well, I want to go down to 35-gallon car, right? And then you get 35 gallons, well, I want to go back to 65 gallon, right? So this is like constant changing in card sizes we can experience, which makes keeping the data accuracy challenging, because that's really important when they set it. Want to make sure that data is accurate and still count. Okay, so that can be extremely challenging. Is that people constantly changing their card size. And we know on an average right now we're experiencing about 80 a month of people who want to change their card sizes. 80 a month. So if you're once this year rate system goes, we know people are going to want to save money, they want to reduce money. So we know that number is going to increase. So what that will get, know so that can count with that. The other issue is renters, right? So we have, I don't know how many renters we have here, but it's we don't have obviously we don't have a whole lot of renters as our customers, but for those who are renting homes or townhomes or duplexes, you know, they're not paying for trash services. It's their landlords, and so do renters have a right to want to change size of the cards, even though they're not putting the bill? And what happens if the landlord doesn't want to change, you know, the card size? And there could be the confrontation between the renters and landlords in the district, so that could be challenging. The third option is processing refunds, right? We don't issue right now. Our revenues were received from the county, right? It's a direct deposit from the county. So if someone wants to lower their goes from 95 gallons to 65 gallon card, we have to issue a refund. We're programmed to issue a refund. There's a long process for doing that. We give you an example of a process to issue refunds. First, you know, we had a conversation with the customer. They call and say, hey, I want to reduce, I want to change my card size. We have to record the data, the change in their systems. We calculate the cost. Then we coordinate a date to issue the refund. We fill out a check refund form, and I have to sign it. Then we have to enter the data in the financial system, print the check, stamp the check, mail the check. Then we got to coordinate the exchange with it. That's just for one refund. So imagine all these refunds are coming into us. Extremely time consuming, right? So it's extremely challenging on that. Also potential card issues. There's potential people want to save money, which I understand that, but they won't change their habit. So they want to save money, but they want to change their habits. So they're going to contaminate their recycling bins, contaminate their organic, or worse, throw their trash in the neighbor's front. Okay, that can happen. And then lastly, there's just that coordination of data management between us, CNR, and our consultant that submits the data to the county for audits. So there's all these challenges that I think that if we really want to look at the free card system, we got to look at resolving the issues. One way that's possibly a way to resolve that issue, and I had that conversation this morning with my staff, is allowing CNR to direct bill to the customers. So they would direct bill. So now you're going to receive a bill from CNR. What that does, that eliminates our responsibility for refunds. Because they haven't done the bills. They already print out invoices and they print out mail out invoices to print them. They already do that. There's no dispute between the renters and the landlords, right? Because now the renters are getting billed. Okay, so the renters want to have a small trash card. They have that. They can do that because they're paying directly for the service. There's again, the refunds are not an issue. We would still do assessments, but it would only be assessing staff's costs, our overhead. So our salary benefits and our M&O, our maintenance operation. And I did a quick calculation this afternoon. So for next fiscal year in 2027, just staff salaries and M&O is about $1.9 million. If we apply that to assessments for over 23,000 customers, comes out to about $82 a year. That will ensure our revenues come in to pay for our overhead operations. And then all the revenues for CNR goes right to them. So that's one way to do it. We're thinking of billing. So again, we haven't had that discussion with CNR yet. We're meeting with them tomorrow. Let's see, go with that, because there will be additional cost from the building because they have to have overhead, they have to have additional postage, I'm sure there's a fee if they allow residents to pay on credit cards, right? So there's all that to take consideration. So we'll have that conversation with CNR tomorrow, see what that would cost, but, and then we'll further have that conversation with the board, but that is one way that I think we can eliminate some of these issues that we identified in the staff report and having that tier rates where residents can get control of their costs, control of their waste disposal. So that is my presentation. I'm happy to hear your comments, feedback, suggestions. What would you recommend? You recommend the board look at tier rates, not like just.
I had a question.
Yes.
Hey, could you possibly limit how many times you can ask for a change in your trash can? Limit it to twice a year?
Yeah, that's popped up too. Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's an option. Yeah, we thought about
Yeah.
that.
Is there a limit now? Ooh, there should be. Okay, Cindy had hers and then you, Rosemary. So go ahead, Cindy, and then.
So what have the other cities done? Did you ask how they address some of these issues?
Well, they don't have, they already correct, no. So they don't have the issue. They already have a building department, they go it, or the already does, they already do that. They don't have any issues with changing out parts, because they already have the data, that shows who had what car size is. Notice the right, they're all paying directly, so a lot of these issues, they're not facing. What we're trying to do some research on is finding out from what passes in Markham, when we went to the tier rate, did they see an increase in diversion? Did the diversion go up? Did people change their habits? And they went to small car.
Well, I'm not yet sold on the idea of CR&R taking this over and doing the billing on it, although it sure sounds like it'd be a lot easier than what you guys would have to do. Because I am a landlord in the city of Costa Mesa, and I have had multiple tenants in homes, and I have had single people in the same house. And if a tenant wanted to go to a smaller trash can, I would have no problem with it. I would want to be the one making that decision. I would want to talk to my tenant and communicate with them and make sure that that was what they wanted to do, and then getting the refund. And how much are we talking anyway? It sounds like a lot of work for a very small amount, going from it, since we're only talking about the mixed use.
The study that we're doing, that's part of the task that the consultants have determined for us. What would we go to tier rates, what would the tier rates populate look like? So what would be the difference between 35 and 95 dollars? So when you put that question, I ask you a good question. So if your tenant had a 35 gallon car and went to a 90 gallon car, so increasing your costs, are you okay with that?
If they had a good case for it, if it was if it went from a single person living in the home to a family, which I have had, then I would have no problem with it. Yeah.
I think some landlords might have issues with that.
But I wouldn't want my refund going back to the tenant either.
That's that's the challenge that we would face, right? And so if a renter wants to lower their, which is great, we want to change that, it's fantastic. We want to be sure that proper is the refund, not there.
And I would have more of a problem with them, mixing, if they got a smaller cart, throwing stuff into the wrong ones. I did have another question, but go ahead and I'll come back to it.
Thank you. I think this is a great idea to have people pay proportionally for the waste that they're generating, particularly since you've rolled out organics. And now as a customer, I have the opportunity to take my food waste and throw it in my landfill cart, or I can throw it in the green cart where it belongs. And the fact that you have a cost differential on the can sizes, if I'm properly sorting, like my recyclables are here, all my organics are there, my need for capacity in the landfill cart will have dropped. So I can go from a 95 to a 65. Who knows? Maybe I can squeeze into a 35. But in the end, I'm ultimately only paying for the waste that I'm generating. So I think it's a really important concept that you're proposing. I think it's extremely valuable. And when it comes to resource management, we do this in a variety of different ways. So if you look at your drinking water, they have tiered rates. So if you're using a normal amount of water, you're paying so much. But if you're really watering that lawn and using a lot of money, the cost per unit goes up. You're paying for that resource. So I think it's an important concept to move forward. I do know that it can be a little daunting or for some scary to transfer billing to a hauler. And I'm particularly like, oh, I don't know if I trust them. But an agreement, a franchise can be worded so that the hauler is taking on the responsibility because honestly, they're providing a service to a customer. And to have that direct bill so that when there's a problem, the customer who's paying the bill is also interacting with the service provider, I think is extremely valuable. But you can also use contracts and agreements with the hauler to ensure that they are maintaining their level of service. So having the contract require, all that information of missed carts, or if they're finding customers, or, every fourth year that the district is allowed to do a full financial review to ensure that everything is as it should be. And then also, charging them for that. It doesn't have to be described in a way that puts extra burden on the district. So they do enjoy the benefit of having that sole access to these customers. And I think it's a good way to efficiently manage that process because haulers are billing customers all day, every day. They do this all the time. We're not their only customer. So to have them bill in this district would not be something unusual to occur. So I think you really have some strong ideas to improve this process and cost management. And Oceanside in 2022 shifted billing from the city, and now the hauler has been doing it since 2022.
Okay.
Hello. When I was reading through this, I was thinking as long as the administrative costs don't offset like the potential cost savings. For example, if you want to save $5 by going to the smaller bin, but then you're charged $5 more because it costs that much to do all the paperwork or whatever, right? So as long as it's it ends up being a true reduction in costs for those who want to downsize, I think it's awesome. And I think the timing of it would be nice if it comes out with the new potential rate increase for waste. So the customers feel like something's within their control, right? It's like, hey, this price goes up, but I have an option to reduce my cost by being more responsible with my refuse or whatever, right? Right, right. So overall, like, my only question was, I don't know much about administering hauler contracts. Does the further integration of CR&R into your business make it more difficult? Should you need to separate from CR&R for another contract at some point in maybe the distant future? Meaning, if you end up going, if you're with Waste Management in 50 years, or whatever, 20 years, 10 years. Okay. It's just, all right. Simple, yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Question.
Right.
Right,
As long,
question.
because if there is additional cost, there could be additional cost for CR&R to do this billing and such too, so that anyway, it's all going to be in the details, of course. Yeah.
That was gonna be the question process wise. So you have the staff discussion, you'll have a discussion with CR&R. So timing wise, what are you looking at following up with both the CAC and the board? And as well as kind of a financial analysis.
later this month. If they give us the green light to proceed, CNR can work out those numbers, what it would cost on them to submit the billings. We need that information to our consultants. I believe our consultant will have a draft ready by, February.
I think we're scheduled or tentatively scheduled to come back to the CAC with the draft study in March.
I've been squawking about this for years, so I like the idea of tiered rates based on you. Confident that CRNR even knows what's out there at this point. I know they just did the switch over. But from what I've heard and what I've seen, I don't know that everybody's really confident. They know who has what, and how is that gonna be received if we do the switch over, and what they're charging customers for is not accurate. Like, I imagine quite a bit of that is gonna blow back on staff to a certain degree, at least in the initial changeover. Are you concerned about that at all?
I can tell you that I'm more confident in data now than I was 5 years ago.
Fair enough.
So it is better. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. Yes, we still have issues with CNR on the data and the action data, but I think over time we will get there, and I think that's why it's important. We need to audit them every year. We need to hold their feet to the fire, making sure that they're charging the right fees to the different card sizes. And if there's not, we do have liquidated damages, so I mean that we can apply to the CNR. So there are ways that we can hold them accountable. So it is a work in progress. I do admit, but it's getting better.
Is there a one, obviously it's not, and nothing is settled, but I imagine the district's gonna have to have some sort of transition plan to deal with the initial blowback, or people not knowing that they can't call here to have something done, because people don't pay attention real close unless they have a problem, and at that point, they don't really care, they just want you to fix it. But I imagine the curve and the transition for that is gonna be interesting. So is that something you're gonna factor into moving this forward, and how that would be addressed?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of the challenges. It's the short window opportunity to educate the public. I think it's gonna really, we're gonna get a lot of calls because they're gonna get a bill for the first time. What is this? I've never seen this before. Is this legitimate, right? And so there are a lot of people out there who are confused when they see this. So it's gonna be important to get that word out. I think we have a very, very effective, a very good outreach team that does a pretty good job getting the word out, but we're just not gonna get everyone. I know we're not. I think that's gonna be the challenge is there's a new billing system. There's new, and I think right now they bill every 2 months, 3 months. So that'll be the challenge, is the outreach and getting people to recognize it. It's a new billing system.
I just wanted to say that haulers, when they're collecting that money, they start getting really accurate, especially when they start realizing that, hey, this guy hasn't been paying a bill for 10 years. All of a sudden, boy, they figure it all out very quickly. The other thing that can be done is putting some of that education and outreach onto the hauler. Their trucks are driving through our town all day, every day. And so they can put a billboard on their truck like, hey, guess what's happening? There's a lot of different outreach that you can require the hauler to do, including, door tagging and just letting them know. And if you need additional information, see the district's website or see our website and for more information. So there's a lot of stepped up strategies that can be used to help the public understand what's occurring, and then what resources they have available if things get kind of wonky, and to keep it from overwhelming the district's staff, because that's important also.
I would suggest for cart exchange frequency, they can do it one time unless there's a change of occupancy. I mean, obviously, if you have a house and the occupancy changes 5 times and you want to change the size of the cart, then okay, fine. But there should be some type of proof of change of occupancy involved. And people only do what you allow them to do to a certain extent. And I think if you're fair about it and you give people the opportunity to change out of the gate, and okay, you can change once a year for whatever reason. Unlimited exchanges of the size of your carts, I think is really nice, but I don't think it's necessary. If you weren't gonna transition, okay, so transitioning the billing directly to CR&R is the only way that this could work for you guys. You guys would have to hire billing people if you didn't, correct? And then like a billing department.
We have right now, a part-timer in the finance department, we make that part-time full-timer. It would cost probably additional $82,000 to hire an additional full-timer, which includes, working 40 hours a week benefits, so probably additional $82,000. So we can still do it internally, we have to just hire another staff. We can't be done internally.
And then if you do transition all of this work or the billing to CR&R, can whatever, like, do you have a allocation that that time is spent by staff on dealing with cart issues and trash issues and stuff now, where you can say, okay, now we're gonna have all these hours that aren't being dedicated to this, so we can channel those hours towards handling different stuff? Like, do you know what the shift in man hours will be in terms of if you take it away, where you're gonna pick up, like how many hours are you gonna pick up? Because I know you have a lot of things evolving and more things you like to do and different programs and stuff like that, but you only have a certain amount of people in a certain number of days. So has that been part of what you're looking at?
Absolutely. So we are gonna have the staff saving time, so where can we shift those hours to something that's not getting done? Right, does that mean more programs? Does that mean, additional customer service? What does that mean? I don't know, I have to find out.
Or even hours that you could put toward cross-training your personnel? Because I know you try to do that now, you have to cover for vacations and things. But if you have some type of disaster or you have some, people that live abruptly or something like that, having extra hours to be able to cross-train people, a lot of companies don't have that. And so I would suggest if that's something that you want to expand on, that you would put that into your calculation. I think if it stayed within the district and there were any refunds that were going to be issued, it should absolutely go back to the owner of the property. And as far as cart misuse goes, yeah, some people are going to do that. Aren't there locking carts available? And if so, what's the difference of a price? Because that's gonna, I think that would solve a lot of the problem in terms of contamination or people trying to use their neighbor's receptacle. I don't know how practical that is or the cost difference, but I know that those are available.
Yeah, that's good.
That could be a solution for that, but I wholeheartedly think there's a good way to do this, or the effort will be worth it. Because for your staff, this is probably a nightmare. I can only imagine. So I apologize to all of you that are stuck figuring this out, because this is not a fun project. But I think it's important in light of, just the general increases and now the stuff from the landfill, like it's just too much.
I just had a couple clarifying questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
The 2988, is that just for the refuse bin, or is that the cost? I think that was in there, right? 29?
Yeah, that's
All three.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. And then I'm assuming there's a cost per ton for refuse versus a cost per ton for, say, organic waste versus cost per ton. So they all have a cost per ton. I don't know what those are, but we're only talking about a refuse, the black bin or whatever you call it, right? And why, I'm just curious, why not the other bins? Why are we not looking at?
If we want to increase the conversion, right? We want more.
Give them the
people,
space.
Recycle, less materials going to the.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Got it. All right, thanks.
And Scott, that's also how, you're being regulated by the diversion, how you're reducing the amount of stuff that's going into the black card and how much of it you're appropriately putting in the blue card and the green card. So really, that's the regulation that you have to meet. And then this is such a fascinating mechanism because, I mean, honestly, I do think people are motivated by money. I know people who would never bring a reusable bag to the store when they go to the market. But the second the state started charging 10 cents a bag, oh my goodness, I was shocked at people I knew bringing their reusable bags to the market because of 10 cents. And I thought, wow, that is impressive that that small quantity of money would make a significant behavior change. And by having people pay for what they're using in the landfill cart will encourage them, I believe, and have seen, to move those materials into the appropriate bin. And for those of us who are separating appropriately, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff in that blue card and there's stuff going in that green card. And your landfill card, if you're doing it correctly, has dropped since we've implemented organic. So I think it's a good way to get people involved.
I had a couple of quick questions and then one clarification. So I've had some dealings with CR&R recently, and I must tell you that even the people answering the phone, they've been very, very responsive, been really good, quite an improvement, especially in the last year. So I wanted to give them a shout out for that. If you go to the billing by CR&R and it's a renter, it's going to be just like if you were turning on the water or turning on the power. So there's your proof right there, because they have to change the name into the other name. So it shouldn't be a problem if that's how you want to base whether they can switch carts or not at that point. And also, you talked about the costs of doing it internally versus by adding a half of a staff person versus having CR&R do it. Is that going to be part of this study? Can you incorporate that and bring that back? So we know, so yeah, before making a decision, so we know whether it's more cost effective to add that half a person or, make them a full-time person, or go ahead and just cut the tie and give it to CR&R. And then the last thing is, you mentioned earlier that 70% of the cans are 65 gallon. Is that just for the landfill ones? Is that just the black ones? So you do have a count on that then. You do know how many people have. I guarantee you don't really know how many people have, because I know I have more than I'm supposed to have. You didn't hear that, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do, they just didn't give them up, and we don't put them all out, so. Thanks.
Great questions, comments, everybody. Brooke, you have another one?
I don't have anything to add. I am fully in support for all the reasons that the people already spoke, but I also wonder if there's an opportunity to run a pilot to learn some information before making a strong decision. I don't know if that's a pilot direct billing to CR&R or a pilot, if that is helpful or feasible.
Okay, looks like that's it for that one. Thanks, everybody. Great questions. Thank you, Bob, for the information. Last item is receive communications plan update.
Yes,
Oh.
the one, anyway, was, the report is out below, do you have any more report on that?
Sure, I can make it a quick one. So let me just get. All right, so I'll just provide a brief update based on Nolani's report. So overall, the plan is on track and within budget, so we're happy to share that. We have about $17,000 remaining for various outreach projects. And primarily this year, we have focused on the 3-cart system, with the rollout being the biggest thing that we're trying to educate on right now. But in addition to that, we also promote all of our special programs, which include the large item pickup, household hazardous waste, fats, oils, and grease, and our sewer inspection rebate program. So we've been doing this through our regular methods, which are social media, email, survey, website updates, and commercials now as well. And we also have a grant-funded set of educational mailings that we've been doing. And so in terms of the budget, we have a total of $132,000 across all of our public outreach funds and categories. The state grant that we have provided $42,000 to do postcard mailings specifically focused on the 3-cart system. And we're going to be wrapping those up in December with a postcard and a Mesa Water bill insert on our Christmas tree recycling program. And then separate from the grant, we have a 3-cart system outreach budget of $33,500. And that's being used for ad placement for our 3-cart system commercial, which is on streaming platforms and cable. And this year we do plan to re-edit and kind of refresh the commercial and then run the ads again, continued into next year. We also have our newsletter and our special programs budget, which together total $57,000. And staff is going to be using feedback from the community survey to help guide how we allocate that special programs funding, as well as what we're going to be focusing on in our upcoming newsletters. So looking ahead, we have our winter newsletter coming up. We also have social media updates and on our holiday closures and holiday-related waste reduction tips. And one thing I'm also excited to share is that we just launched our AI chatbot on our website. So that's new for us. Hopefully it will make it easier for residents to get the information that they're looking for. It is still in its learning phase, so we invite you all to test it and let us know if you have any feedback as we fine-tune that. So that concludes my update. As I mentioned, we do have $17,000 remaining to refresh our 3-cart system commercial and to promote our special programs. So tonight we're just looking for some input from you guys on how we can use those funds to strengthen our outreach, and let us know if there's any programs that you believe would be most valuable to promote and focus on with our outreach.
Cindy Brenneman and I talked about this briefly. And one thing I'm going to speak for both of us because we were in agreement. That we think would be helpful, or maybe your existing commercial or some kind of outreach, is show somebody how to successfully set up the inside of their house to be successful in translating everything to the right can outside. Because if people are just throwing everything into the trash, it's going to end up in the landfill. They're like, if they don't have a good system inside their house to separate things and put them in the right place, they're never going to make it in the right place when they go outside. Now, one size fits all, probably not, because everybody has a different amount of space and different idea and different priorities. But I think something along those lines to give people options on how they can be successful, especially in light of the increases coming for the landfills, could be extremely valuable and helpful.
Great, thank you.
Well, I've seen ads placed in movie theaters before the movies start. Ads at the DMV, people are stuck there for like 2 hours and just looking at the screen. I've also seen ads placed on buses that will run only through our neighborhoods, so that you're capturing people just as they're driving or waiting for a bus. And then also I've seen haulers being required to put signage on their trucks because they're visiting our customers every week. That's it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
That's great.
Thank you.
I have no love for your chatbot for 2 reasons. The first one is every time it pops up and you can close it out. But when you switch pages and you switch from governance to announcements or whatever, it just keeps popping up and popping up and popping up.
Yeah.
So if there is a way that if someone closes it out and doesn't want it, that it stays away and maybe, and I don't know if this is possible because I'm not a techie, but if there could be like a little floating thing somewhere where if they wanted it, they could click on it, I think that would be great because it popping up every time you switch screens was not fun for me today, especially since you guys have updated your website and viewing board member meetings is not super easy like it used to be
Mm.
through the platform that you had where you could, click on the meeting and you get the agenda, the minutes, the video all in one place and you click on it. It's not like that anymore. So you have to kind of jump around. And when you're jumping around and that box just keeps popping up, I was not personally a fan. Especially too, and I know you have to do this for disclaimer because it is AI. It says in there, and I took a picture of it, and I imagine most places do have to say this, but it literally says, this feature utilizes EI and the information provided may not always be accurate. To verify the information on the chatbot, contact you guys. So for me, I don't like the opportunity of getting misinformation, so I wouldn't use it. Doesn't mean other people won't love it and use the heck out of it, but that's my 2 cents, my 25 cents, actually. Anybody else? Okay. Last item takes us to comments, I do believe. Committee members?
I'll just, this is our last meeting. I'll simply say, I just want to thank staff for all the work that you do, supporting us and supporting our ratepayers and to the board as well. Always appreciate your deliberations and discussions. I watch it remotely all the time, so I really appreciate all of you. So thank you.
Just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday since we won't see you, and happy Thanksgiving, and very grateful for everybody's input. And I think this is a really valuable meeting, so appreciate it. Thank you.
This is our first meeting after the Eco Expo. I know you guys have had meetings, but I just wanted to bring up again, and I think pretty much everybody in here attended, at least for a little while. But staff does an outstanding job with that every year. And the quality of what is put out and the appreciation and the enthusiasm of the people that attend just gets better every year. And it seems like you wouldn't be able to top it in terms of what you offer, and you always do. So I would like to compliment staff on that. I also want to remind all of the CAC members that it is your obligation and duty to attend or go online and watch at least one study session or one board of directors meeting. If you haven't signed up for auto notification, you can go online, or you can actually probably tell Gina and she could put you on a list where she'll send you the reminder and the agenda for the upcoming board meetings, and you can click on it and you can at least see what they're talking about and see what's coming down the pipe. I think that's really important that we pay attention to what they're doing, and we listen to, we follow up with our recommendations to hear what their views are and stay on top of the way the direction of the district is going. I made my comments about the website. We have a CAC vacancy and nobody has said anything about it. There was a new board member appointed and nobody really said anything about that. The last meeting either, but she vacated a seat on the CAC. There's no announcement on the website. There's no anything saying that we are taking applications. The only thing that is on the website is when you click on CAC and you go to the people on it, it says vacancy 2025, 2027. So I was hoping somebody would do something about that. The board of directors meetings are the fourth Monday of every month at 4:30, and the study sessions are the second Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. So you can just put them on your calendar if you don't want to sign up for the reminder. But if you do sign up for the reminder, they send you the agenda. So I have a question about And I don't even know if you can answer this because I don't know if it's been designated. But I want the CAC to know. One of the directors at the 9/22 board meeting brought up the possibility of the board giving themselves benefits. And I know it's probably, I assume, it's probably going to be assigned for a study session. Once it goes to the study session, like, will we, do you know, is this study session going to happen before we meet again? Or is that something that we need to keep an eye out for? And then if it does go to the study session, is it one of those things where the board will either vote to move it forward to a board meeting, or they'll kill it, I imagine, like it's one or the other, but it won't be decided at this, will it be decided at the study session? Okay,
Board does not make, decisions on a study session. Now, they can legally, because it's still a board meeting, and they have made decisions, a study session, but this is really to give their information. Here's what it would cost, by, helping it to the board, and what impacts it's having on the district. And they would give board to want us to proceed, with this, and they say, yes, okay, we'll bring it back in the future for the date. Probably be either in December or beginning of January, so, and it also adds to the board if they want to see review, so it's possibilities.
okay, so I know I would like for the CAC to be part of the conversation if that's appropriate. I think
I'll,
anytime elected officials decide to give themselves benefits, that's something that I think people would want to know about. So I'm speaking for myself, but, and that's another reason why I would encourage all of you to see what's going on at the board meetings. The board is made up of 3 members who have literally been on it for probably over 30 years each. And at no time did they ever think they needed benefits. And now there's 2 newer members, and right out of the gate, that's what they're asking for. And as a resident, it makes me extremely uncomfortable when elected officials come out of the gate all about what personally would benefit them. And that is exactly what was said at the meeting that I watched in public comment or in director comments on 9/22. So if you want to look at the meeting and review it yourself, I would encourage you to do that. Last thing is just thank you to the people that work here and to the district for you're always finding new and improved ways to include, educate, and support the ratepayers. And as somebody who has watched you guys and learned about you guys for the last 7 years and has been extremely involved in government and our city overall, that isn't always the case. So thank you. And thank you for the holiday meal and the cool gift. So that's it. So the next Citizen Advisory Committee meeting will be held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, January 14th. So happy holidays, happy new year. Oh yeah, I didn't ask if you guys had comments. I apologize.
I want to thank you for this. We know you volunteered your time to prep for this, and spend an hour and a half with us, really appreciate it. You did a great idea, that keeps you not, I mean, it's the idea is to make universe out of it. That's why I believe the CAC is so valuable. So, thank you, but I would come over, so we'll only include me to eat and sit around and eat with us. We're great. Go home, please take some food with you, see what you want, and then a nice little gift, for you to say thank you.
Because I didn't ask if the board members had comments. I apologize. I adjourned. Did either of you have a comment? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Adjourned. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Happy Hanukkah and every other thing.